I wanted to share some lessons we learned from our work there. The first is that construction and demolition waste contains toxic materials. It's one of the most toxic parts of our waste stream. C&D can include lead-painted and pressure-treated wood, roofing materials, plastics like PVC, and various metals, and when burned can emit 87 toxic substances, including arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. These are toxins that harm our health in many ways, and there are no safe levels of exposure for mercury and lead. Residents were also concerned about diesel emissions from increased truck traffic to and from the plant. According to the EPA, 20,000 Americans die prematurely each year as a result of pollution from diesel engines. I'm sure that you will hear much more about the adverse health and environmental impact of these substances tonight. The second is that it is impossible to sort out the clean parts from the dirty, despite reclassification. Renaming dirty, contaminated wood clean does not make it so. The emissions from the incinerator will pollute our air. The problem is that in addition to legally permitted materials, many other non-permitted toxic substances may easily remain in the fuel mix. The testing so-called grab samples of the chips does not address this problem, as it is impossible to obtain a sample that accurately represents the whole mix. Even if people hand-pick clean wood on an assembly line, there is still a high rate of contamination. For example, 30% of samples of wood going to a Florida incinerator were found to be treated with copper chromium arsenate, even though it was supposed to be screened out. In New Hampshire, DEP found that a plant called Bioenergy had released an unknown but significant amount of lead into the air when it incinerated C&D debris that it obtained from Brooklyn, New York. At the time, Bioenergy was permitted only to burn clean chips derived from virgin wood. The burden of culling non-permitted hazardous materials from C&D debris is most often left to private companies that are paid substantial tipping fees for taking the toxic material from contractors. Without adequate state monitoring, and I'm aware that Mass DEP resources are currently stretched, it is naive to believe that the very companies that stand to make the most from incinerating C&D will spend significant resources sorting and cleaning it before it's incinerated. Thirdly, incinerators like the one proposed here compete for recycling programs. In Maine, recycling dropped 3 percentage points primarily due to the availability of C&D burning facilities. Instead of burning this waste, we should be just deconstructing our buildings and recycling and reusing the materials, while phasing out building materials that use toxic chemicals and heavy metals. In his 2007 inaugural address, Governor John Lynch of New Hampshire was quoted as saying the following: "The burning of toxic construction and demolition debris poses an unnecessary danger to the health of citizens and the health of the environment. A moratorium is not enough. The risks are too great. We must permanently ban the burning of construction and demolition waste in New Hampshire."